Well, there are definitely questions to be asked in terms of what is taking so long. I mean, Edo State is not the massive size of, say, Borno or one of the other states. And of course, a lot of people will be curious. I'm curious as to what exactly is taking so long. But from the process that you've narrated, especially with looking at the agents and how they're supposed to be able to go with the INEC officials from the ward levels down to the local government level, down to the state level. You've talked about how in certain instances they can be compromised, they can be screened out. Are there any other solutions that you would suggest to INEC? Because these safeguards were put in place to ensure that there was transparency and that other parties and all parties concerned are satisfied with the results that eventually come out. What would you suggest to INEC is done to ensure that things like this do not happen, or when they do happen, they are flagged and are corrected as quickly as possible?
Thank you for that question. It's simply to present a bill for electronic voting to the National Assembly. Just present a bill for electronic voting, and let's get a law for electronic voting. And we'll start improving on the electronic voting processes. If we start trying to dissect the present process, to me, it's still analog. We are still trying to look back into the past to try and see how we can beat the past, so to speak, whereas we should be looking at the future. INEC does not have sufficient vehicles.
You think electronic voting is going to be a cure-all medicine?
No, it can't be a cure-all medicine, but it's a huge step forward. It's a huge step forward. It will help us to go to the next stage. For one, there will not be ballot box snatching. There will not be gun shooters. You don't need military officers on the streets.
Then why haven't we done it?
That's the question that we are putting out there. You don't need military. Well, of course, you found out in the last dispensation, a lot of people criticize the military involvement in elections. But today, the same people that criticize that involvement are now chewing their words. They are now accepting that indeed it is very necessary that military help the security process in elections. If we have adopted the electronic voting system, we wouldn't need to talk about military. In point of fact, there would not have been even any need to have postponed the election from September 10 to September 28. So the simple answer is present a bill to the National Assembly and let's get into electronic voting. We'll start improving on electronic voting as time goes on.
You know, the thing here again, we're looking at, we still want to talk about the topography and the places. Sorry, a minute here, Mark. I want to take on where Mark left off, talking about the size of the state, looking at the council and also looking at the minutes or hour it takes you from one point to another. And for so many people that have just observed who live in that part of the world, they say there's hardly any part that would take you more than 2.5 hours to get to the city center.
Yes.
And as at 8 o'clock, we still understand that we have about 8 still coming.
Still outstanding, yes.
Logistics is very key here.
Yes.
And the last time INEC said they were having collaboration with the Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW. Do you think we should be looking elsewhere if this hasn't actually been that smooth? Because if Edo State by now still hasn't been able to get 8 councils resort to Benin City, then we should have a rethink.
Well, Sulai, I want to get personal here. You are from Edo State. Perhaps you should tell us why it should take more than 4 or 5 hours. He
doesn't work in INEC, does
he? He doesn't work in INEC, but as an Imo State man, as I am, I can tell you, I can hazard.
You've been monitoring elections. So
okay, he's sitting here, but let that just by the way. You see, it still goes back to the point that there is no need for us to still retain this analog system. We are still in the times past.
Which is what is still going to happen when they are collating and announcing the results.
That is it. For example, from the ward level to the local government level, it can't take more than an hour. Voting stops, for example, let's be generous, 5 p.m. Voting stops 5 p.m. By 6 p.m., local government should have received their results of collation. By 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 p.m., the state should have received the results. That is a given. As far as I'm concerned, it's a given. So when you see these delays, definitely questions would arise.
But Politicians too can help this process if they've got their agents in all those areas, because when voting ends and then collation officer or ward officer announces and pays the result, party agents calculate across board, then they have an idea of what the result is, and then wait for the ultimate announcement by INEC to just corroborate or underscore whatever it is that they have.
Absolutely. I am sure that the parties now have the full results. We should be sure, at least the real authentic results, pending when INEC would announce theirs. Every party should have theirs. Now, where parties can come in is in terms of integrity, as far as I'm concerned. Parties cannot come in terms of support, logistic support. I have experienced a situation where INEC officials from the polling booths did not have vehicles. This NURTW stuff that they are talking about is anything but efficient. They didn't have vehicles from the polling booths to the local government. A party official provided a vehicle.
You're talking about the INEC officials?
Yes, the NYSC.
Transportation
from the polling booth to the
collation center.
To the local government collation center. They didn't have a vehicle. It was a party official that provided, against protestations, that provided vehicles.
Which ordinarily shouldn't be.
Which ordinarily shouldn't be. So that still is the position, the situation we find ourselves in.
Okay, Markwe is still going to put a question in. Markwe?
Looks like she couldn't hear us again.
She can.
Yeah, no.
Okay, she can't hear us. But I'm just wondering, because if you say one of those agents, provided vehicles, if that happened, how would that affect the results?
Of course, the agents they took what happened there was that the party official that took them in their vehicle took close to 3 hours to get to the local government's collation center. A journey of 20 minutes, a journey of 15 minutes perhaps. I can tell you categorically, I experienced it.
So if it took them that long,
yes,
and assuming without considering something untoward or suspicious could happen,
yes,
let's talk about the result sheets. How many result sheets do they normally have? Is it one key result sheet from
That
INEC?
is another angle. That is why we are still lagging behind. They have perfected a situation where they would present a fake result sheet at the polling booth. So you would, as a party agent, you will sign a fake result sheet, thinking you signed the correct result sheet. But getting to the local government collation center or the final point, you will see a different result sheet, separate, different from the ones that the party agents have signed.
So you mean they look so much alike?
Of course, they duplicated. Sometimes you don't even see the result sheets. Sometimes they say they have no result sheets, but elections must go on anyway. And card readers, you talk about incident forms, about this card reader,
which is allowed by electoral law,
which is allowed by not electoral law, regulations.
You know what?
INEC regulations.
You know what beats me is that I was going to look at the National Assembly. They are all politicians, and whether you like it or not, some have had ugly experience. One would have thought that would have been some of the move they will put forward and say, hey, let's fix this. Let's look at our electoral process. Let's rejig it and make it a better,
credible, yes,
system. Why haven't we been seeing that?
Absolutely, because they are benefiting from it. They are benefiting from it. They get into positions by rigging. They've perfected methodologies of rigging in this kind of system that we are operating now. So it is difficult for them to support a process that would cut off their rigging tendencies. And that is what electronic voting would do.